Oh, good morning. It's like 10 a.m. I think. It is the day of DEWEY'S 24-hour readathon and I'm taking part and I'm very excited. I started reading at midnight and read for about 3 hours and then got up early this morning and read some more. I am reading The Kiss Quotient by Helen Hoang and really enjoying it. I've only got about 50 pages left and I'm looking forward to finishing that off first. And then plans for the day as it goes. Basically I'm hoping to read quite a lot of comics, graphic novels, etc. that I've got out from the library and maybe get stuck into another fiction book. Let me show you what I have out from the library and take it from there. Okay, so this is my reading trolley. I pulled it into the bedroom just because the dishwasher's going in the main room. This section here is one non-fiction that I've started and a bunch of books that I have already out that I thought could be good for Asian Readathon next month. So I kind of separated them just now to kind of keep it clear what I'm going to be reading this weekend. And this is everything else that I've either got out from the library or that I own already. And these here, this group here, are all ones that I'm looking at for this readathon, all kind of comics, graphic novels. And these two as well are like novels in verse, so thinking they could be quick reads. So let me pull a few possibilities off here and I'll show you them in a bit more detail. Okay, so here's a bunch of sort of comics, graphic novels, etc. I posted a picture of a few of these on Instagram and somebody reached out and said that this was one of their favourite graphic novels of all time, so I'm quite keen to read that. And this is the second in a two-part kind of comic, sort of humorous comic thing, so that'll be good to read. And the other ones I'm just kind of going to pick up as and when the mood strikes, I guess. I'm curious to read them all, so let's see if we get through this today, or yeah. Apart from that, I also have these two novels in verse that I would like to read, and this seems like it could be a good opportunity to read them. I've never heard anyone talk about Somewhere Among, but I saw it in the library and thought it sounded really good. And Long Way Down, I've heard quite a lot of people talk about this one, and I know it's on Ashley at Bookish Realm's list of 100 books to read before you die, so that made me very curious to pick it up when I saw it in the library. And yeah, I've got quite a few other fiction novels here, so plenty of choice to choose from. I know A Long Way to a Small Angry Planet was recommended by quite a few people when I asked for sci-fi recommendations. Also continuing the Good Girl, Bad Blood, Holly Jackson series. This is a cosy mystery novel, various different options. I can't decide whether or not to keep this one for Asian Readathon or read it this weekend, so I'll see how I go on. I obviously have quite high ambitions for the weekend, but let's just see how we go, and I'm going to have a nice time anyway, so yeah. But for now I have coffee, I have a good book, and I'm excited to get reading. Okay, so since we last spoke we've been for little drive and I'll pop some footage on the screen of that and the scenes around Reykjavik. But it's definitely time that I did a reading update. So first off, I finished The Kiss Quotient by Helen Hoang and I really enjoyed this one. I have read The Bride Test by the same author and really like that as well. I'm not sure which one I prefer more. I would say this one was definitely steamier. But I really loved these characters in this one, just as I had in The Bride Test. And I was sad to finish the book and leave them. I could have read it for like another 300 pages, so I'm looking forward to seeing what Helen Hoang's third book, which I think is coming out this year, what that is like. I think I'll really enjoy it, so I'm looking forward to that. I didn't really know what to pick up next, so I picked up Comic Studies of the Modern Icelander, which is basically like a collection of artwork by an Icelandic artist, and yeah, there's not a lot to say about it. It's got an unusual art style, and it's, I guess, depicting like moments and like culturalisms and things like that. I then read Stranger Planet by Nathan Pyle, which is a second in a series. I think the first one's called Strange Planet, and essentially both of them play on this kind of idea that aliens are living human experiences and like seeing it through a very logical or overly explained way, and it is quite comic, it is quite silly. I really like it. It kind of hits my sense of humour. This one I think wasn't as funny as this is. The Strange Planet one was like really laugh out loud funny, and this one got me a few times, but it wasn't as consistently funny, I guess. but I'm still really glad I read it and really enjoyed it. Next up, I'm going to be reading Somewhere Among, which is a novel in verse. I just fancy something like an actual story now that I've kind of dipped in and out of a couple of single page comics. I'm not sure how to really explain them, but yeah, Stranger Planet's not like a full narrative throughout the book. It's just like each page is a different scene and a different kind of idea explored. So I want something to kind of bite my teeth into now. This one is about like cultural difference and like living between two cultures and like the experience of that, and it's for a young adult audience. So I'm curious to see what that will be like, and I think it will be a good read. Yeah, I've got myself some snacks and a top of my drink, and I'm looking forward to just sitting down and reading that, probably from cover to cover just now. Okay, so Chris is very kindly about to make us dinner, and I thought, given that I'm about just coming up halfway into this, it would be a good point to give you a little update about my thoughts so far. So I am liking it, like it's quite good in terms of kind of exploring cultural differences between America and Japan. I don't find that the, like, sort of, because it's kind of like poetry style, I don't find like it's got a rhythm to the like words, but I still think it's very interesting, and I'm liking seeing the author experiment with that as a style. I've also just realised that we're about to head into kind of 9/11 coverage, and we've also had coverage of Hiroshima and like the anniversary of that happening. And so the book's basically following this young American girl, well, American Japanese girl, I guess, going to visit her grandparents in Japan during summer, and her mother is heavily pregnant and like expecting a sibling for this little girl, and we're basically following that journey and like seeing the mum's kind of experience of pregnancy as well. It's quite a difficult one, and you know, she has had miscarriages in the past, so that is something that's kind of coming up as a wee theme as well. So it's dealing with quite a lot of heavy themes for what is actually a middle grade book. I realised when I was looking at some of the, I think it was either the foreword or the afterword or somewhere, it said that, yep, it's right here, it says that this book won the Writers League of Texas Manuscript Contest in the middle grade category, and that it's her debut novel. So yeah, I was quite curious by that, to explore such kind of difficult themes in middle grade. Wasn't what I expected, I guess, from middle grade, but what I will say as well is it's quite kind of slow paced. Like, it's definitely focused a lot on outside characters, and I really like the way the author's exploring kind of grandparent-grandchild relationships, but it's definitely like we're not learning a lot about the protagonist as such, like the main narrator. We're more learning about things that are happening in their life and around them and in their relationships with others. So I'd like to see like kind of, I'd like to get to know the main character a bit better than we currently do, but I guess we're getting to know them through their interactions with others and the way they're experiencing the things that are happening. But yeah, I'm looking forward to continuing and seeing where the book goes from here. I was hoping to get some nice footage of Reykjavik to show you today, but this is the only gap in the clouds I've seen today, so I'll definitely have to do another reading vlog when the weather's looking a little bit brighter. Okay, so since I last checked in, a little bit of time has passed. We had some dinner and watched an episode of Married at First Sight, which is like a reality TV show. It's kind of wild to think that that has been filmed during a pandemic, but that's beside the point. I've also actually just finished off Somewhere Among, which was the middle grade novel in verse that I was reading, and it was pretty good. I don't really have a lot more to say about it than I already have. I did feel like there was a little bit lacking like character development, and my favourite character is probably the grandfather, who our protagonist spends quite a lot of time with. But yeah, it's a lot like heavier hitting than I maybe had expected going into it, which was a bit sort of surprising, but it kind of covered a lot of like global events and like interesting differences between American culture and Japanese culture, and this like young woman living between the two. I just felt like I didn't really know her very well, and so like I wasn't fully experiencing all the things that she was experiencing with her, because I just didn't have a connection through the story. which was interesting. And I think that kind of comes down to basically the way she's written in, like it's all from her perspective and she's experiencing the world, but it's all about how she's experiencing the world rather than like who she is or what she likes, doesn't like as a young woman. And sometimes when she's experiencing these like news events, global, international pieces of news, it doesn't read like it's from a child's perspective. Like, I think she must be around about the same age as I was when 9/11 happened, for example. And I don't know, I just felt like some of the way that was explored and some of the way some of the other big events were explored didn't feel like a child's eyes. It felt like an adult's eyes. Don't know, maybe that's just me, but I definitely am glad I read it, and I think it's very interesting, unique, and unlike anything else I've read. So if you're interested in like cultural differences and like people's experience of like being between two cultures, I would definitely recommend this one, and give it a go and see what you think about it. Even if you just like novels in verse and are looking for your next sort of novel in verse hit, this could be one that you like. So yeah, on the theme of like being in Japan, which is where I think all of that book was set, it begins with her travelling from America to Japan. So with that kind of theme in mind, I was thinking of going on to read what I believe is called Onibi. It's like a graphic novel about a ghost hunter and sounds like it's quite fun and quirky, and it's set in Japan. So I'm thinking of reading that next. My other option is Cosmoknights, the graphic novel that somebody commented on my Instagram post and said that that was one of their favourites. So I'm curious to read that, and it's like set in space and like should be quite quirky and fun and sci-fi. It's currently like 10 p.m. here, so I haven't got too much time left in the readathon, and it's only just starting to get dark outside, like properly dark. Oh, actually, at the moment we don't have any pure darkness in Iceland, so we're definitely tumbling quickly into midnight sun season, so that's an exciting thing. I love midnight sun season. But yeah, that's my plans now, to go and read those, and I'll check in with you in a little while. Okay, so the premise of this is actually really cute. It's meant to be like these two young kids, and they go into a shop and buy a camera, and the camera actually is able to catch ghosts on it, and that's why they go off ghost hunting. I just think that's super sweet. The art style is not necessarily my favourite. Like, I really like this kind of spread look to it, but the normal art style is not really my favourite, but I don't have anything particularly against it. It's quite interesting looking. So yeah, this looks like it could be quite promising so far. Okay, a few pages on, and I'm thinking that it's possible that this is actually based on the writer's experiences. Just based on this place is a tea house, we have become regulars during a previous stay. Kind of takes out of the character and puts you more into like a memoir-y type non-fiction style, which was interesting. So I guess it's inspired by their trip. There is a little note at the beginning, and the note says that this is inspired by one of their trips during the fall of 2014, and that they dedicate it to the people that they met there. So maybe it is like an actual place, I'm not sure. But yeah, interesting. Okay, I've just finished Onibi, I think it's called, the graphic novel set in Japan, and it actually was really quite spooky, like for a ghost story. If you like ghost stories, definitely put this one up, or if you like stories set in Japan. I was surprised by how much this like spooked me. It's got like real pictures that they took, or at least you're led to believe that they're real pictures inserted throughout the book, and then like little stories that go along with it, which are inspired by the couple who wrote the book, who go under a pen name, inspired by their travels to Japan. It's really interesting. And yeah, if you like kind of spooky stories, or like ghost stories, or just stories in Japan, I think this is one that a lot of people will like. I have some time left. It's only like 11, that only took me an hour or so to read, so I will start Cosmoknights. Yeah, I'll start Cosmoknights and see how I go on with it. Quite excited for this one. And yeah, this is page 1 and I'm already getting good vibes. Look at this sweet dedication to found family. Lovely. What a beautiful colour palette as well. This is going to be a good one, I think. Okay, this is actually really, really fun space adventure kind of vibes. It's set across obviously sci-fi kind of world where people compete for the hand of a princess, and they put on suits and have basically like a duel kind of thing for the hand of the princess. And typically in the kind of modern time that this is meant to be set in, the person who fights doesn't necessarily take the person's hand, and so will like kind of, I guess, sell the princess on. And so the people who we follow in this book are really anti that kind of established way of being, anti-establishment, and they devise plans to kind of take it down in different ways, and it follows their journey. And this is issue 1, I believe, so I'm not sure how many there will be to come, but that's very exciting because this was really engaging and like super like high plot driven, like lots of action, really good. On the back it says, for this ragtag band of space gays, liberation means beating the patriarchy at its own game. And I think that kind of sums it up. Definitely one I would recommend. I really liked it, and I love the artwork and the colour schemes and stuff like that as well. So let me just gather all my books together and I will do a final kind of check-in chat. Okay, so I actually had like such a good little day reading. I read a lot more than I was initially thinking I might get to. So it was a really good sort of day, fun day of reading. My favourites were definitely the Kiss Quotient, which I'll just read anything that Helen Hoang writes at this point in time. And also Cosmoknights was like such a good way to end this vlog. I so enjoyed that and thought the art was absolutely beautiful. So excited to read the next like issue when that comes out. So yeah, I enjoyed everything that I read and I had a really nice day. And I'm now absolutely shattered though. It's 12:15 and obviously the end of the readathon, and I'm ready just to collapse and have a good night's sleep. So I will leave you here. Thank you so much for watching this vlog, and let me know if you read any of the books that I read in this vlog. If you took part in the readathon, what did you read? Did you read anything that you enjoyed? Yeah, I'd love to hear from you. Drop a comment down below, and yeah, I will see you again in my next video. Bye for now.